It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia. This is Houston, AOS over.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the TKW Podcast. I'm Matt Spendley, and I'm joined tonight by Kyle Maggio.
What's going on, guys?
And Anthony Corbo.
Hey.
Guys, how we feeling tonight? What a game, huh?
The same as we felt on Sunday night, to be quite honest. It's the same team.
We even had to deal with a near Mitchell Robinson injury, so even a little bit more shaken up.
It almost felt like a just shot-for-shot remake. It was awful, except, they're in Oklahoma City this time. A 25-point loss to the Russell Westbrook-less Oklahoma City Thunder. Paul George completely tore up the Knicks. You had Schroeder with 15, Grant with 15. Just an awful game. The Thunder hit 16 threes against the Knicks. The Knicks basically were a mess from start to finish, besides for some, I suppose, moments in garbage time from the likes of Alonzo Trier and some others. So what exciting things do you have to tell me about this game? Someone have something to say.
I mean, there was Kevin Knox for a little bit there. He was at least looking aggressive and looks like he's back pretty much healthy from that injury. So, I mean, he scored a little bit, but I mean, Robinson was able to get to the offensive board a bit, and Cantor looked good underneath the rim offensively. But that might be literally it. I might have just made Kyle be able to say nothing here.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't anything to go off of. It was nice to see Kevin stay aggressive. Little inefficient, 5 of 16, but finished with 15 and 5 overall. I'd like to see. That was one thing that we talked about at length, was once Knox comes back, how aggressive is he going to be? Then he's at least been that. I don't really care about the inefficiencies as a rookie, especially. He's still like less than 10 games into his career, so that was good. Timmy caught fire a little bit there in the third before it totally unraveled, so that was nice to see. But it really was all for nothing, because then it just swung right back out of hand. Cantor had a nice game, but Cantor's box score numbers are always nice. It doesn't really result.
They lie.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I hate the phrase "empty stats" and how it's totally overused. Nowadays, because if you're on a bad team and you score a lot of points, no matter how effective you were, you just kind of get dubbed as empty stats. But like Cantor, it actually. And I like Cantor, but it does apply. So I mean, that's pretty much it. It was mostly this. We were hoping for something a little bit different, I guess, with the starting lineup change. Which, I mean, we'll get into that now. But it was kind of a strange lineup, and Fizdale wanted to shake things up after the blowout in Orlando, but we just got a blowout in Oklahoma City. So that's how that goes.
Well, they got blitzed in the first quarter. So the one positive thing about the previous iteration of the Knicks starting lineup was that defensively they were quite good. They had a defensive rating under 100, which is an incredibly effective number. Means they were playing good defense. They were able to shut down some drivers. Robinson was kind of protecting the paint. We had Frank and Dotson kind of warding off some potential drivers and playing some nice perimeter defense. And this unit just gets predictably gashed in the first quarter by OKC, Paul George and Steven Adams especially. Steven Adams just destroyed the interior of the Knicks tonight. And all night they were just getting eaten alive around the rim, both for defense and in the pick and roll. It did not get much better thereafter. I think it's pretty obvious this is a starting lineup that won't work. And although Fizz has said he doesn't make game-to-game changes, we've seen him give a starting lineup, 5 to 6 games to see if it works and then make a switch. I find it hard to believe he can look at the fans and the players with a straight face and throw this unit back out there when they're back in action next.
Yeah, didn't he say he was going to take everything like 5 games at a time? Do you think that still stands for this starting lineup they broke out tonight?
It's possible, but this one was just so bad.
Yeah, I sure should hope not. I mean, I said this. All right, I kind of expected, and I think we were all in agreement that once Knox came back from his ankle injury that he was probably going to get inserted into the starting lineup sooner rather than later, especially in light of the Lance Thomas injury. But I figured they were going to slot him in over Vonleh, and they just threw him in at the 3 over Dotson. So I didn't really mind taking both Dotson, and I didn't understand taking both Dotson and Frank out. It just seemed like one of the two would probably be gone. But
Frank we saw coming, but Dotson was very surprising considering how good he was for a while.
Yeah, he had also had a couple quiet games though too.
Yeah,
so I wasn't shocked.
I wasn't shocked, but I mean, like, I don't know. I just thought he would have had a little bit more room to have a couple of off games.
I think I brought this up in the last pod, or at least I was talking about it on Twitter, but Dotson's a guy who's always going to be more successful when the shot creators are on. So prior to the Orlando game and probably the Washington game too, when Timmy was really rolling, it was easy, and Trier was rolling for a bunch of those games too. It was really easy for Dotson to be like the third man, just sitting wide open. But if Timmy's not going to be hitting and defenses aren't going to collapse on him and close out on him as hard, then Dotson's not going to really have a ton of breathing room or many open looks. So
he's just more useful, like you mentioned, when he's playing with other players that can create, and he's a better spot-up option. I want to talk about Knox real quick because I thought he was bad tonight, and I'll take the 15 points all day. And we have mentioned in the past that we don't really mind about the efficiency, but I don't mind the efficiency when he's taking good shots that are in the flow of an offense. His shot selection tonight was just absolutely
He did
brutal.
throw a lot of shots away.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the bad habits at Kentucky rear its head. We saw him in transition a couple times turn a blind eye to others. He had a couple where he just went up 3 or 4 on 1, had a couple guys open and missed them. He did have one in transition when he dished it off to Timmy, who nailed the 3. But around the rim is somewhere where he's going to really have to improve. He simply can't finish strong at the rim yet. It's not something he's comfortable with. He cannot finish through contact. And you hope that comes when he puts on more weight, when he's able to get stronger, and when he's more confident in his finishing ability, that'll come. But I didn't think he played very well tonight, and that showed in his shooting. But again, it's the shot selection that speaks more to that. I'll take the 15 points and 5 boards, but I still think that a lot of the bad habits that we've seen that I was worried about him coming into the NBA kind of showed off tonight.
Just feels like nobody's ever showed him how to finish when he drives to the rack.
It does feel like that.
Like I tweeted that Doc shoots his layups like the wacky waving inflatable.
Completely
two-man.
accurate. 100% spot on.
He just flails. It's not just like one thing. It's not like one of his arms hangs out. It's like his limbs everywhere go in different directions. Like his legs are just kicking out. His arms are just flailing. It's very strange. And I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because he is, 19, 20 years old. And he's a rookie. I mean, he's a young rookie. But it just doesn't seem like he's super comfortable in his own body yet. So it's kind of amusing, but also you want him to clean it up.
So, Matt, because you watch a lot more college than Kyle or I do, what's the biggest difference? What's been his biggest problem adjusting to since he came into the NBA? Like, he was a scoring machine when he was in college. Why can't he get it together, even look like he fits into a flow of an offense in the NBA?
Yeah, I think it's that is definitely part of it. In college, you're not faced with the level of physicality and the level of athlete that you inevitably end up facing once you come to the NBA. So when he's able to drive and get to the rim, in college, sometimes you can get away with that because opposing centers are these 6'7", 6'8", 230 guys that you can kind of meander around and that he can finish over the top of, which is something he does incredibly well. That was one of the main things we talked about coming into the league on his offense, in his jump shot and in his layup around the rim and in his floater specifically. He's able to elevate over the top of a defense and effectively finish. In the NBA, that's harder to do when you're going against Steven Adams down in the paint and even a Jeremy Grant, who is just a stout, strong defender, and Nerlens Noel and all these guys they have down low. It makes it more difficult for him to pull off some of the moves he was able to in college, thanks to the caliber of athlete that he's facing. And that goes hand in hand with some of the shot selection we've seen, because it happened at Kentucky. His shot selection at times was troublesome, and he wasn't able to quite turn some of those looks that should be nice opportunities into good, efficient scoring chances. I like him taking 7 threes, but some of those threes are coming, they're one dribble pull-ups they're kind of, let me catch the ball, wait a second, and then take the three. He still has opportunities, and it's just hard because the Knicks just don't have many guys that are very creative with the ball. Moutier did have a few assists. Most of those came to Mitchell Robinson. I'd have to look exactly, but it sure felt like that. They had a couple nice layups and connection. But the Knicks don't have great point guards to set up their players. And for someone like Knox, that puts a little more responsibility on him. You're asking him to do a little more offensively by himself, which, of course, isn't the best way to allow a guy that's going to be a great scorer to grow. It puts stress on his game, and it's going to make him inherently inefficient no matter what the Knicks are able to do around him.
I mean, that pretty much just sums it up. Like, he's definitely going to have to learn how to fit in with all the pieces around him. It's, no one really knows who's going to be the lead, the lead option moving forward with this Knicks, especially with, KPF for the rest of the year.
Exactly. And it's so early, and this isn't a team that is long for the Knicks. Like, even next year, we might not see some of these guys on the roster. So with Knox, we've said this forever. All you want to do is see some positive signs. I didn't see many positive signs from him tonight, despite him scoring 15 points in his first NBA start.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to panic until it's like game 30 something, like that Knox has played. Right now I think he's still just trying to get acclimated.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a big jump in competition from college to summer league to preseason to actually playing a meaningful regular season game. So. We'll see what happens. I'm still encouraged that he's finding ways to get double-digit points now. This is yet another game that he's played 20-plus minutes and made sure he's gotten double digits. Yeah, hopefully he cleans it up, but I think that's just going to come with a little bit of adjustment, but we'll see.
I just don't think it's really worth it at all to panic about anyone this year. And
that's really
all right, let's shift this a bit, because I want to talk in general, because you'll see – you've seen this on our account, and, it's kind of funny how the tune shifts so quickly, because the Knicks have now lost their last 3 or 4 games by an average of 22 points after some people thinking that, oh, maybe this team isn't as bad as we thought. This was always going to be a bad basketball team. If you would have told me they were 4-11 after 15 games, I would have said that sounds about right. This is about where we would have expected them to be. So I don't think there's any reason for us to feel like down in the dumps after a game like this, based on our expectations. This is exactly what was supposed to happen. A game like this sucks. Losing by 25 always sucks, especially when it's a game that is a blowout from the get-go, which really prevents you from having any strong takeaways from a game. But this is exactly what this team was always going to be. So I'm confused about where we stand, because we need to make sure we have a clear head, and we make the Zion Williamson jokes, who had a couple just fabulous plays again tonight. Not surprising, but let's always be honest with ourselves here about what the team is.
I'm not going to lie. I caught myself cheering at one point about our draft position.
It's not too early. We said it last week.
Yeah. May I read the Zion Williamson averages through 3 games?
God, please.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Please do.
With it. Give us the little morphine here.
Zion Williams is averaging 25.3 points per game. Zion Williamson is averaging 10.6 rebounds per game.
Lord.
Zion Williamson is averaging 3 blocks per game, and Zion Williamson is shooting 82% from the field.
What's he shooting from the floor?
82%.
Holy
32
fuck.
of 39 from the field.
Oh, my God.
Say that again one more time.
All right. Everybody, please make sure you're sitting down this time.
Sit down, please.
Zion Williamson is shooting 82% from the floor. 32 of 39 from the field.
Unbelievable.
We just talked about this last time. Do you see how high he jumps?
It's absurd. Like, he looks like he jumps out of the gym. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone jump like this man does.
The kid is almost 300 pounds, and he jumps like 14 feet in the air.
I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast today, and I think he made a good point. Even when he gets to the NBA, when these guys get to the NBA, they put on more muscle. Like, he's going to be in the NBA. He'll probably weigh over 300 pounds when he comes to the NBA and in his peak physical form, which is just completely unheard of from a professional athlete. We have never seen anyone like that.
And he's
I was seeing the size comparisons for him, like all the athletes that they were saying that he weighs more or equal to. He weighs as much as Bartolo Colon.
Oh, Tolo, big sexy.
He weighs as much as Bartolo Colon, and he's got how high is his vertical? Like
Too
40
much.
inches?
Too damn high.
It's
He's
a
too
lot.
fucking high. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. He weighs more than JaVale McGee.
He's breathtaking. And it's been 3 games, but it's already...
He looks like a compact Shaq, you know? It's just very... I can't wait to see him in a Knicks uniform. My God.
Oh, that'll be the day. All right. Is there anything else you guys wanted to hit on in this game? Because there's a couple other storylines that we could peruse if you so choose.
I mean, to nobody's surprise, it was a rough night on the boards. I think everybody saw that coming.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitchell just kind of got bullied by Steven Adams. He only finished with 1 rebound, a couple of blocks, but I mean, even Vonleh couldn't really get in there. They're a tough team to rebound against. The Thunder are. So,
there is only one player in the NBA that Zion weighs less than. Do you know who that is?
It's Boban.
It's Boban.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big boy. That's a big boy.
Boban is like 7'8".
If you're getting compared physically to Boban, you are a freak in a good way or a bad way. But that's the whole debate that people talk about, right? Is Zion Williamson fat or is he like just a menace?
Dude,
that's
if you
debate.
could jump like 40 inches, then you can be as heavy as you need to be.
Let's talk, before we get into some other stuff, let's talk briefly. So we saw Trey Burke as a DMP again tonight, and we saw Moutier play 21 minutes, 7 points, 5 assists. You know, again, you could say whatever you want about Fizdale's lineup choices, which I think tonight's lineup was an absolute farce. I don't see why the Knicks decided to go with this unit. It was clearly going to be a disaster from the get-go, but whatever. He's going to experiment. I've been frustrated with the lineup choices, but I'm not going to get too crazy about it. Let him go out there and see what happens. They lose a game like this, it's whatever. You lose by 25, the team stinks. Moutier is never going to be a good basketball player. Please have no disillusions about what he is as a player. No delusions of grandeur that he could even become an average NBA player. He's bad. But it doesn't matter because I said it on the last podcast, between him and Trey Burke, neither of these guys should be promised any sort of minutes. They are both not going to be long for this Knicks roster. Trey Burke is a better player than Emmanuel Moutier, but he's not good enough to the point where they need to guarantee him any sort of minutes. And we saw Frank play 21 minutes again. I don't think the minutes from the box score tell us all that much in a blowout like this. It just doesn't matter. But any other new impressions from the guard rotation? Should we have any takeaways after a game like this?
Here's my takeaway. Zion Williamson is almost identical in size to Yankee slugger Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge.
Alan Judge. I like Alan Judge better.
No, I do too. Who's 6'7", 282. He's 100 pounds heavier than Terrence Ferguson. The guard rotation could be as bad as it needs to be right now. Like, just keep the losses coming because I can't get off it. I'm just still dreaming of Zion. But for real, like, Frank has been invisible lately, and that's really a bad sign.
I think
that should be the answer to any question about any sort of like lineup rotation. Just a Zion Williamson fact for the rest of the year.
That's it. That's all I really care. And the only other wish I could have is that Frank Ntilikina would come around, and that's it. Like, Moutier's forever going to be bad. We're cool with that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. Are we gonna? All I'm hearing now is Courtney Lee for Markelle Fultz. Are we gonna try to get Markelle Fultz right too?
I mean, if Philly does that, I'll drive Courtney Lee to the freaking train station, but that's not happening.
Yeah, but my only takes with the guard stuff is Frankie's got to shoot the fucking ball, man. I can only defend this shit for so long. You just got to shoot the fucking ball.
Yeah.
He gets so many decent looks that he's just not shooting, and the defense doesn't really close out as hard because they know he's not going to shoot it. It's like he puts a cap. It's the same 5 shots every night, and then he goes 1 of 5 or 2 of 5 to start, and then that's it. And then on the rare night where he goes like 2 of 3 to start, he goes off for like 15 or 16 points. Just shoot the fucking ball, because then it's frustrating. Because then the stuff that you do well, we can't defend you over and over, with it, because people just kind of get tired of it if you're not going to score. Like, there was a stretch at the end of the third quarter where he made, I think it was 4 straight defensive plays. I think it was Schroeder, but he cut one of the guards off on a fast break. They just went right into his body. He played the drive perfectly. They had to kick the ball back out, start the whole thing over. Blew the fast break up. It was beautiful. He comes down, he gets a block, or he's getting through screens great. It's just he made like 3 or 4 really good defensive stops in a row that I caught. And then we can't keep using that because you can't score. Just shoot the ball. These are good looks that you get. Shoot the ball. That's it. And if you shot the ball more consistently, you probably would get benched. It's a really simple concept.
Now, is the onus on Frank or the coaching staff?
I'm being completely honest. I think it's on Frank. I think they've given him ample opportunity to get those looks. They pushed him to be more aggressive and gave him the starting lineup. They gave him the reins there with that message, and it seemed to me like he had the greenest of lights. And then for you to just kind of give up on that, that's not. I understand he's a smart basketball player. I understand he's unselfish. He's got a high IQ. He doesn't want to force things. He wants to make sure these are really good, perfect, clean shots. But at some point, you got to get comfortable taking those good shots that aren't great. It just feels like he doesn't have an interest in doing that consistently yet, and that's very disappointing.
It is, and hopefully that's something that comes, because even last year, it felt like the coaching staff could even say to a certain point, we're going to let you do this. And at the end of the year, when they had completely tanked and they were still just trying to get to that finish line, you felt like Frank had an opportunity. And at some point, you got to ask more of him. And the coaching staff just needs to keep encouraging him. I think, and everyone that listens to this program knows, I just really want to reaffirm for everyone out there on November 14th at 10:43 p.m. how much I despise Mario Hezonja. I cannot stand watching this man play basketball, and I'm going to say it every single episode. I can't. He makes me so aggravated. Everything he does on the basketball court makes me angry. Watching him and Cantor defend is just grating. It hurts my eyeballs.
He just has a very low effort level, too. There was a couple times tonight where he would drive in.
Nonchalant.
Yeah, I mean, he drove in a couple times and just made two really blatant turnovers or bad passes, and he didn't even bother to get back on defense. He just kind of he wasn't even mad at the ref, nobody. He was just kind of mad at himself, and just he threw his arms up and they kind of came down hard on his sides. Then he just kind of moped for half a second and then started to jog back on D. It's you gotta get back, man. You got to do something. You're not impactful anywhere. Just anything.
Just do one thing good once. I think he was 3 of 5 at one point, and then he missed his next 4 shots.
I told you last week, the thing that he's good at is getting a defensive rebound, looking like he's going to push the ball, and it's those 3 seconds of that happening that he looks incredible at. He's got the height.
I feel like that's a real bad indictment on his game as a player.
He takes 2 really good dribbles. He's a big he's a 4, so he's a 4 who can run the floor. He takes 2 or 3 aggressive dribbles. He's looking. He's got the vision for it. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like he's going to do something. And then he just throws some weird. He fakes the shot, kicks it out, and then it's a turnover. Or he just fumbles the ball because his handles aren't good, and it's a turnover. It's just he's a very strange player to watch, to actually watch and take in, because it's very conflicting.
He's just an excellent tank commander. He might be my favorite tank commander.
Yeah, and I was going to say
Moutier last year, I think.
I was going to say, we joked around Moutier about him being the tank commander, but Moutier's not good, but at least he tries. At least you can identify things that he tries to do well on a basketball court. I just don't know what Hezonja's doing. I don't know what his game plan is ever. I never understand.
Neither does he, and that's his biggest fault. It's absolutely disgusting. I simply cannot handle it.
So what was also interesting to me about this game was the fact that we decided to stick with the quote-unquote worst front court in the league. Do we see anything from Noah Vonleh tonight? Because, Lord, he just looks lost out there to me now.
Yeah, a couple nice yams.
Yeah.
I just can't tell if he's going to be underneath the rim or if he's going to be at the line. I just feel like his shot's coming from anywhere, and I'm just not confident about it going in. I he can dunk, he can get underneath the rim and he can score from right under there. But I worry about his fit next to Robinson. He's just so inconsistent to me that I don't know. I would rather have seen the front court get shaken up a little bit than see Dotson come out of the lineup personally.
He tried to do a little too much on offense. He had this one really strange, step back mid-range jumper. I'm like, dude, that is not your game at all.
That's kind of what I mean. He's just so unpredictable out there sometimes.
He's just an interesting guy to pair in a front court with. And we had Jack write a piece on this earlier. I think it was this week, if not the end of last week, about how the Knicks have the worst front court shooters in the NBA because they don't take any threes, and how that hurts their offense because they don't space the floor. Because between Vonleh and Robinson, who have been the two starters for the last handful of games, they're not spacing the floor at all. And then when you have someone like Emmanuel Mudiay on the floor, who I liked seeing him take 2 corner threes tonight, but he didn't make either of them. All of a sudden, you're looking at your only shooters as Tim Hardaway Jr., who has to do a lot of ball creation too, so he doesn't spot up all that much. A lot of his threes come off the dribble. And then Kevin Knox, who we saw have to rely on threes in that same way, off the dribble, which is not ideal. He had a couple nice opportunities to spot up, but those are going to be few and far between. The lack of shooting from the front court has certainly been an issue. We saw Kanter hit his second 3 of the year tonight, but it didn't exactly come in the flow of an offense. It was kind of in the corner, a little contested. So that hurts, and Vonleh doesn't help there. He did take a 3, but he's not ever going to be a big threat from there, although it's something, if he ever becomes a nice rotation cog, which I still enjoy his game, a 3-point shot would have to be something that he'd develop. And maybe that comes and maybe it doesn't. I feel like the more likely option is that it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not worrying about any of those 3 players developing their 3-point shots. I'm even if Kanter, who is definitely the most offensively solid of the 3 of them, develops a 3-point shot, he's not going to be back here next year. And like Mudiay and Vonleh might, but I'm still low on them. There's like, even though Vonleh played well to start the season, even though Mudiay has had a good game or maybe even 2 so far this season, it's like I'm so hard to find any kind of sense of consistency from either of those players that I just wouldn't be able to even trust it if they got on a streak.
Yeah, and that's why these guys have bounced around and not made NBA homes at this point and are signing, veteran minimum deals. That's how this goes. I think in general, when we're looking at tonight's game, we saw atrocious defensive performances from the likely candidates. I know we like to hype up Tim Hardaway, but he was awful defensively. Paul George ate his lunch. The Thunder just destroyed the Knicks in the paint. The Knicks had issues defending the 3-point line, even when the game was kind of still within reach, but not really. Diallo just completely eviscerated them with his energy. They were lazy. They were slow to get out, and there's really no excuse. They hadn't played since Sunday. Not a good game. Not a good game. So back-to-back tough losses. Nothing good. So, Kyle, are we going to talk about this KD thing or what?
I'd like to, but I'm on record saying that while I'm going to get these jokes off and I'm going to get them off frequently, that I don't think he's actually going to come. I'll believe when I see it, not a second before.
But the jokes, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen. I mean, I do believe this. I think it's very clear that he's going to leave. By all indicators that we got coming into the season, by what just took place, and the very telling, by the very telling quotes that kind of came out today by Marcus Thompson of The Athletic, it just kind of reads that way. I don't think that he's going to come to the Knicks. I stand by that. I think he leaves. I just don't. Maybe the Clippers or I know the Lakers were rumored now, but I just don't think he's gonna.
No, I mean it'd
be nice.
I'm still in on this. No, it's not just that it's nice. I think all the signs are pointing towards it so far. Look, I don't want. We do this all the time. I know we do this all the time, but this is the first one I can actually feel somewhat solid about. Look, like everyone's making a big deal about this lip reading thing, which is he definitely didn't say what everyone thinks he's saying.
He did not.
Sure, he did not.
But like, it doesn't matter. This shit's still going down. Even if it wasn't going down, he'd be leaving. And like, everything just makes sense. I still think he might look at a different team and go there, but so far it just makes the most sense for Kevin Durant to go to the Knicks.
Well, all right. Let me ask you this question: would you be more upset if he stayed in Golden State and didn't come to the Knicks, or if he left and went somewhere else that wasn't the Knicks?
I think if he left and went somewhere else, because if he stays in Golden State, like you already made his bed there, like that's just, it is what it is. That decision's already been made and
it would take a
decide.
little bit longer, but at some point someone's going to beat him.
Like I think that the situation I'd be most mad at is if he leaves and goes to LA for
The Clippers?
no, for the Lakers, sorry.
There's no shot in hell he does that. I just don't buy that. He would never go play with LeBron. I don't buy that for a second. I'm out on that one.
That's what I mean. I would lose my mind because then I'd be like, are you kidding me? So you had this great team in Oklahoma City that all you guys had to do was not choke against the Warriors and you would have been fine. And you do, right? So then whatever. So then you leave, you go to the Warriors. You're already going to be probably an all-time great if you just stayed in OKC. But whatever, you leave to go to the Warriors. You get your rings. It's fine. Whatever. We've made peace with it, even though I still have all my snake joke tweets that I got to delete. But it is what it is.
Easy scrub when it comes.
And then after taking all that scrutiny, and you know how personally he takes it, you know how sensitive he is, then he's just going to up and leave and go, well, my time here is done. I'm going to go play with LeBron now before he can't win any more rings. Because then it's just like, if you do it once and then come back, like I get it. LeBron's like, I need some help. I'm going to win some rings. And then I'm going to go try to do it the old-fashioned way again. But to just keep skimming from like all-time greats to all-time greats, it would just really piss me off. And it's not as talented a team, obviously, as Golden State is. It won't be, probably barring them getting like Kawhi. But I would just be irate if he went to the Lakers. I really would be. I don't know oh my God. I get mad thinking about it.
I don't think I would be too upset if he went to the Lakers. Like, I mean, that makes sense to me too, but I don't think I don't
standpoint, look how silly his career would look.
It would look dumb. Well, he wouldn't get credit even if the Lakers ended up winning a title with him. That just makes no sense from a legacy standpoint. But is that something KD cares about? I was talking about this in Slack today. I don't even know if he cares about his overall legacy.
I think he does.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I really think he just wants to play somewhere where he could be the best, unquestionably the best guy on the team, like with like miles above it. I think he's done with all this, like having to deal with Russell Westbrook, having to deal with Draymond Green, having to deal with all the who's better, Kevin Durant or Steph or everything. I think he just wants his own team for the first time. So I will gladly hand the Knicks over to him.
The Clippers do make a lot of sense, though. I do think that's a completely viable destination. But if he ever won a title with the Clippers, no one would really care. It's like, great, KD won this title, it's cool. But the argument for New York is obvious. We don't need to spell it out for everyone. It's that if he ever came to New York and won here, he would be a legend forever. But again, I just don't know if that's something that KD wants to take on. After listening to what he says, after kind of getting a gauge for what he is, at least what he lets on, I just don't know if he's the kind of guy that wants all of that pressure heaped onto him. I think he just wants to go out there and play basketball in a situation that he enjoys. If he comes to the Knicks, and listen, we know the Knicks better than anyone. Don't listen to all of the people out there that are saying no one would ever play for the Knicks because James Dolan is a shitty owner. I don't know if that's the case anymore. It could certainly change on a whim. If the Knicks strike out in free agency, I think that they'll do something dumb. Like if they don't get someone, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for someone that's on a big contract. Like if they just trade for John Wall. Like that wouldn't surprise me if they end up striking out on these guys and make a dumb deal like that. But I just don't really think that the Knicks are this hands-off franchise anymore. I think NBA players are tuned in. I think they understand that the Knicks are building something. They're not doing anything dumb, and they're just going about their business. And
yeah. That's why going for John Wall would surprise me if I would it would surprise me looking at Perry and where Mills has ended up at this point.
But that's if they strike out. I don't think they would just get John Wall to pair with someone. I think if it's ever KD signed with the Clippers for a 5-year max contract.
I think, honest to God, I think they might just I think they would be smart enough to wait it out one more year. I think they would re-sign Kristaps this year because they got to and give him his max contract. But let that be the big signing, and that would be about it. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing that could happen. And then, you get the class of 2020, and you see who's in there and who, whether it be another draft pick down the line or whether it be, signing the free agent that year. We'll just have to see. I would be surprised if they strike out if this front office didn't stand pat.
It's all just wild speculation on our part anyways, but I just
we're already this bad in November.
Right, no, I know. It's going to be a long while. Between that and us waiting for the draft, we're just going to be talking about everything to come. But I think even like people are talking about how the Clippers have this nice roster, and I do think the Clippers have a good roster, and we've seen them be excellent this year. But if KD leaves Golden State, I just don't know how important like the pure basketball part of this is, because it's about, in his mind, a narrative perspective plus the basketball. But I would think that the narrative would be more prevalent depending on what his mindset is. But again, it's us trying to know what's inside his head, which we will never know. But at this point, I'd be curious to see what the betting odds are on him leaving versus him staying. This front office has also basically chosen KD over Draymond by suspending him for the one game without pay. So that's a whole nother thing, because obviously Durant's a better player. They could always make a move to get rid of Green and keep Durant. That's not completely out of the question. So
Right.
that's something we could see happen. I wouldn't rule it out. And they've had spats like this before, but the stories are just so funny, where it's like, you're reading Yahoo Sports and it's like Green repeatedly called Durant, quote, a bitch in the locker room. Like, it's so funny.
No, it is funny.
It cracks me up because I'm just picturing this in my head, and I'm picturing KD just sitting there, and then they're yelling at each other across the locker room, and Draymond just going ape shit, and Glaze just sitting there chilling out. Like, Damian Jones is like, where has this been the last 2 years? What happened? What is going on?
I mean, for the Warriors, they have to get rid of someone, right? They can't pay everybody this summer.
If they all want to stay, they can make it happen. They'd have to finagle it a bit, but yeah, basically, I don't know exactly what their cap sheet, but with Iguodala, and Livingston, they have some other guys that are in the middle range that they can get off of to make it work. But no, you're right. Like, if people have talked about Clay, I just don't think Clay would ever leave. I don't think he wants to.
Yeah,
play.
I don't think he's gonna leave, and I don't think they're gonna ask him to sacrifice
if Durant
pay.
leaves and they're able to move those
either.
contracts around and everything, do you think they can re-sign DeMarcus Cousins?
They can't.
No, they can't. It's impossible, because you can only
Currently,
sign him to 125% of his current contract. So he's getting paid $5 million. So basically, the most they can offer him is like $7.5 million or whatever the number would turn out to be.
And Kerr's already on record saying that basically, he's here for a cup of coffee so that he can show that he's rehabbed and well, hopefully win a ring, and then because of all that, go and get a fat contract somewhere else. I think it was just a couple of days ago he said it.
Yeah, because he's going to make more than the $6.3 million they can offer him. Someone else will pay him.
I thought that they, if they could clear with the cap space, I forgot about the 125% thing.
Yeah, so it's a weird CBA rule, but all speculation. Is there anything else that we wanted to hit on that's been in the news? I know we were getting off some jokes because they're just oh my god, I can't, the hilarity of it all. And
I got one thing not Knicks related that I've been wanting to bring up because it's been bothering me for a few days now.
Lay it on us.
In the Jimmy Butler trade, you hear a lot about Thibodeau, finally getting rid of Butler, and you hear a lot about Jimmy Butler, and you hear a lot about how the Sixers, the players who are on the team now, and you hear about Rocco and Sarge over there. The one name that I haven't heard come up through all this is Elton Brand. Like, this is his first move as a GM. Like, why do you think he has been so low profile when talked about considering this trade? And do you think it was because he was mostly figured out before he was there, or did he not have very much involvement in it? Or I just have found it very strange that his first move as a GM hasn't been quite as praised as you might think it might be.
Oh, so you're saying? Let me get this straight. So you're saying if the Nets were to have made this trade, Sean Marks would have been a genius.
Right.
He would have just flat out fleeced the Timberwolves. And he would just be a genius. And then we'd hear about it for like 3 or 4 weeks. There'd be multiple think pieces.
3 or 4 years.
Yo, you're right. Multiple think pieces. But you're saying because this was Elton Brand in Philly.
Right. It's like it's being questioned a little bit more. It's a little, less people care. And also, I just find it strange that his name isn't coming up in the conversation at all. Like, it's as if he didn't pull the trigger on this.
And anytime you can keep 2 role players instead of trading for Jimmy Butler, that's what you should have done.
I think he's not getting as much credit because I think that this trade came a lot from even the higher-ups. Like, I think it was such a big trade, and we saw in Minnesota, Glenn Taylor was basically doing a lot of these negotiations along with Scott Layden. I forget the name of the Sixers owner, but I think this was like a big involved trade from the front office on down to the GM. So I think that's probably why. I don't think Elton Brand was necessarily spearheading this from Philly's side. And between handing those duties off and then also Brett Brown, like I'm sure this was a real team effort, and that's probably why it's not really being talked about in that way.
I kind of want to push back on what Kyle was saying too, because like Sarge didn't have very much production this year, and like Jimmy Butler is a guaranteed improvement on Robert Covington. I think we can.
I know.
Even though Covington has a great contract, he's a great value player. But and also, you know, they didn't have to give up the first round pick. They only gave the second. I don't think that you know, giving up these two role players was a mistake. In you know, when you get the player of Jimmy Butler's caliber.
No, it wasn't, because I was joking. But yeah, Jimmy is basically, you know, what you ever hope or dream that Covington could be. Yeah, you know, like he already replaces them as the elite perimeter defender, but he also gives you elite offense. And then, you know, Saric is a fine guy. I like him more than a lot of other people.
But that's why it frustrates me so much that like this dude, it's his first real move. I was excited when I heard that Elton Brand was getting a seat in the front office.
Immediately the Sixers fleeced them. And then you always hear like a couple of contrarian tweets come out like, that's the best they could do kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I mean, they fleeced them. You get 5 years of Jimmy Butler, and it cost you Covington, which, as much as I admire Covington as a player and for what he's fought to improve and become.
And the contract is just unbelievable.
And the contract, and I've always liked Saric. It's just, you know, those two would never be worth what 5 years of Jimmy Butler was worth, even with the probably bloated year or two at the end of that contract. They would never. And especially, you didn't even have to throw in a first.
Yeah.
You throw in, I think it was a 2022 second round pick. That's an amazing trade. It's a no-brainer. Of course you do that trade.
Do you do that trade if you're in the Knicks position right now? Let's say those same players were playing for the Knicks right now. Would you still pull that off?
If it was those two, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to give me like a different example, I guess.
I'm like just, because Philly's in a winning position. If we had those two kind of role players on the team right now, but we were still building with a similar roster to we have right now, would you still bring Jimmy Butler in there, or is that just too accelerated of a timetable?
It's probably accelerating a little bit too much, but you have to look at it. This is assuming that we have the same year the Sixers did last year, which they got to the second round of the playoffs in, you know, Embiid's first minute restriction season. Like, he had a full season, but he was on minute restrictions most of the year, and they still won 54 games. It was Ben Simmons' rookie year. So if you overachieve like that in your first season like that, it's almost kind of like the Yankees this year going out and last year getting Giancarlo Stanton after they overachieved the year before it got to the ALCS.
Right, with Alan Judge.
When you realize your window's there, I mean, you go forward a little bit more. So I don't really. I would hope that the Knicks would try to swing for the fences like that.
If you can add a third star to a roster and not give up any major future assets, you do it every time and worry about the fit later, because Butler is not a clean fit next to Simmons and Embiid, but you have to make that trade. You just have to. So there's our talk about the rest of the NBA, because the Knicks stink.
Yeah, there's nothing more for us here.
It was basically, you know, we were rehashing a lot of the stuff that we saw on Sunday, and hopefully they can provide us with some more talking points, and we'll see some progression from some of the other guys with a couple road games coming up on the weekend. So they'll be in New Orleans on Friday, and then they'll be in Orlando on Sunday. We'll see what happens with Ron Baker in New Orleans, because you guys remember what happened in New Orleans last year to Ronnie. Mm-hmm. His face was never the same.
Yeah, they're going to have a memorial service.
Moment of silence.
Yeah.
They're going to have him cut out. They're going to have like the white cutout, like in the Naked Gun, when it's like the white cutout in the middle of the ocean. That's what they need right on the court.
Yeah, right. You're too big to dream small.
All right, so with the Knicks back in action this weekend, we'll talk to you guys on Monday. Before that, Kyle, you have anything to plug?
Yeah, just make sure you guys give us a 5-star rating and a nice review when you get done listening to the pod.
You know, we're here.
If you're not already.
We're covering the topics that you want. We're giving you guys what you need. The service here is great. We're doing it.
Give the people what they want.
Make sure you subscribe to the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Knicks Wall. Again, we're going to try to get the the pregame show is rolling again with there. So just make sure you're subscribed and following along. And then, as always, the merch is on sale, I believe. I think the sale ends
like 3 more days. Or by the time this comes out, like 2 more days.
Yeah, so everything's 30% off. So all the jerseys that we released are all the classics that we have, like the U-Up shirt or the Starks Dunk shirt.
There's so much there. Oh, man, that I talked about that hoodie last time I was on, and it finally came in, and God, it looked awesome. It's so comfortable. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
So just check out the selection. Holidays are coming up. Black Friday's coming up. We'll have a sale for them, too. So
last year for my entire family, I bought them exclusively TKW merch. Now you could do the same for your family.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot more of you than last year, so just make sure you go check out what we have. There's a ton of options. I think we have probably over 30 or so designs, so you should find something that you like. And if you do want to see anything, as always, just add us on Twitter. Let us know. We'll figure something out. We'll mock it up. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And also keep an eye on the homepage tonight.
Wink, wink.
Just keep an eye on the homepage.
Just see how it looks. All right. So we'll talk to you guys on Monday. Until then, road to Zion.